We receive a call from our dispatcher. They let us know that they have a patient. This specific patient was experiencing respiratory failure prior to our arrival.
Once we show up, our job is just to continue that care to the best that we can.
The reason we went to Mount Sinai instead of remaining here in the Florida Keys is because the patient could not receive the care that they needed. Our role is to get these patients to definitive care, and VitalOne gets them home.
We at VitalOne always do bed-to-bed transport. In this particular case, the patient was in the Key West, and the patient got very sick. They airlifted the patient to Mount Sinai Hospital in Miami. The patient was placed on ECMO.
This lady had severe respiratory failure, bilateral pneumonia, and it was complicated by the fact that she was in an immunocompromised state. My name is Ari Cement, and I'm a pulmonary and critical care physician here at Mount Sinai for the past 15 years. And I was actually born here 49 years ago, almost to the day. Taking a patient from the Lower Keys Medical Center, it's not usually just an ambulance drive, that's the 4-hour ambulance, it's usually a helicopter. She was on a BiPAP machine, which is a respiratory support. VitalOne, they're very impressive in their communication, in their confidence, and the ability to get things done in a very systematic and efficient manner. If you've ever seen an ECMO machine, it's called extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, but basically has these huge tubes that are circulating the blood outside of the person's body. I would say 90% of patients who fail the BiPAP, high flow nasal and then ventilation don't really get a chance to go on ECMO.
ECMO is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, and that provides oxygenation of the blood and allows us to deliver oxygenated blood so that the patient can rest on the ventilator.
In this particular case, the patient needed to be placed on VV ECMO to support the patient's lungs. The patient needed to be transported from Mount Sinai Hospital in Miami to Northwestern Hospital in Chicago. The challenge that the hospital and the family were facing was that the patient was on ECMO, ventilator, double chest tube, and many life-saving drips.
We had a good idea of what the patients needed, why they were on ECMO, and why they were being transported to another facility on ECMO. And I would say it's not common to transport patients on ECMO, but it takes a lot of coordination, planning, and a good solid clinical team to move that patient safely from hospital to hospital.
When we loaded the patient into the jet with a conveyor belt, I placed Mori at the head of the patient and myself at the feet of the patient. I felt that would be the safest way, that the patient is never alone for even 1 second.
This is my first time working with VitalOne, and I have to say it's been an extremely professional day so far. And I have to say that with all of the MedEvac companies that we've worked with over the years, these guys are extremely detail-oriented, great attention to customer needs. The passenger has been very well looked after.
So Yankee is an amazing person, always willing to lend a hand in terms of educating. You can have a wide background of medicine, but when it comes to flight medicine, there's obviously a lot of nuances that need to be addressed.
Your in-flight movie is the cardiac monitor and everything that's being monitored on it, the ventilator, and of course the patient. The pilots were amazing in keeping with me close communication throughout the entire flight.
Comfort is our priority, and we're willing to go to any length to make sure that the patient feels comfortable, is pain-free, and feels part of this family. Isaac is a master of logistics. He's a kind-hearted person. He's always there, go the extra mile for the patient's family, to make sure everybody's happy, understanding.
I think Isaac's ability to coordinate all of the components of the transport and put all the pieces together definitely takes a special skill set and definitely a lot of patience.
When we loaded the patient off the jet, we got the food truck to come all the way to the door of the jet. So there was no gap in getting the patient off the jet into the food truck, and then from the food truck into the ambulance. Close communication with everyone involved is one of the most important factors of making a transport successful. When we arrived to Northwestern Hospital in Chicago, the full ICU staff awaited our arrival, from the physicians to the nurses to the perfusionist, respiratory therapy, pharmacist, aides, and everyone involved. When we got the patient safely to Chicago, onto the bed in the ICU, is what motivates us and keeps us going for the next transport. I wake up every morning and I know that with God's help, I'm going to make a difference, hopefully for the better, in someone's life.